Aloha, Offstage actors, and welcome to episode 12 of the Offstage Acting Podcast. If you're a fan of improv, as I am, you're going to love our guest, Mark Beltzman. He's an OG improviser, getting his start in the early days with Second City, Chicago, and is one of the founders of Improv Olympic. He's an actor whom you will have seen in Curb Your Enthusiasm, Seinfeld, House, Billy Madison, Speed 2, Home Alone, The Wedding Singer, Magnum P.I. The list is long. Suffice it to say, he's been at it for over 40 years. He's a teacher of improv, and if you're in the London area this April 27th and 28th, you can work with him directly in an exclusive weekend workshop, The Art of Allowing, improv workshop for actors, hosted by Offstage Acting. Go to offstageacting.com or markbeltzman.com for more details on that. In fact, that is where I met Mark myself in 2012 at an improv class he was teaching right here in London. In addition to his talent for the funny, Mark is a tuba player, and he now lives in Hawaii and had to get up a lot earlier than he's used to get on this podcast with us, so we appreciate that. Enjoy your time with Mark, and mahalo, everybody.
Oh, God. Still going.
Oh, Mark is listening to that. Okay, welcome to the show.
Hello.
There's so much going on. We got a great show for you. Offstage Acting Podcast. Back in action. Another exciting episode. Welcome back, Jay. How you feeling, buddy?
I am feeling, I'm feeling energized. We're in a second episode for the day, even though I wasn't in the first one. And busy day and feeling good. How are you?
Feeling good myself. Yes, thank you. So you want to explain to the audiences why you weren't here for the first recording?
I wasn't able to make this other recording, which I'm very excited to listen to it, because the guy seemed really cool. Because I had an acting gig, and I'm hesitant to say it because I know Todd is just gonna make fun of me so much for it. But
good, tell me, I'm ready.
Okay, no, so I was doing like a social media ad for men's sexual health, which is a very
I can see that.
Is Todd? I feel
When
like
you
he's trying so hard to not say something. Yes, Todd. Exactly what you're thinking. Exactly what you're thinking. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but you're allergic to penicillin, I thought.
I am allergic. Well, because it was a natural. It was a psychological. It's an app, and it's about like the psychology of it.
Okay. And did you have to do anything untoward, or were you just the kid with the app who's like?
No, I wasn't a kid. I was a 20-something using the app because of a variety of
to guys my age. That's a kid with an app. Yeah.
Okay. Yes,
for a variety of reasons. So you just met somebody in a bar and then you go straight to the app and go, what do I do?
No,
should I have sex with the person?
No, some of it got very sad. There was like, what's wrong with me? I had to be like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. And then be like, I've discovered blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm really dancing around the wording.
Can't wait to see it. Oh, I can understand. I can understand why. Well, that's going to be something fun for us to check out. Did you make good money?
I did make quite decent money. And actually, hot toddy. I did make money because originally I told them no because I was doing this podcast.
It's a good strategy.
And they then offered me like double. And I was like, oh, well.
You learned a valuable lesson there, didn't you?
Yeah, just tell people no.
Always say no first.
Yeah.
And hope they offer you double.
Yeah, be wanted. That's what it is. I just, be wanted. And
be wanted, yeah.
And then other people want you even more. Yeah. So
I'm glad that you're here for this episode.
Me too.
We're gonna talk to an amazing person, kind of a character. He's literally in my ears right now, making a ton of really grotesque noises. He just can't help himself. But that's right. He's an old man now. But
Todd.
he's a beautiful. This is a guy I met years ago, living in London. I came to London. I thought I was going to get into the improv scene. I'd done improv back in the States and Groundlings and other places.
Yeah.
I loved it. You'd done some improv too. But I got to London. I found out actually in London, they're not very good at improv. I got to say.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you have that experience.
Hot take.
Yeah. I'm putting it out there. Maybe things have changed. This was about 10 years ago. I was really keen to get to a place where, having come from other parts of Europe, Prague, where I was the only improv in town. I was teaching it, but apart from that, there was
wow.
nothing going on. And I came here and they just weren't getting it right. They just didn't, they
Mm,
thought it was improv, but it was just child's play, breaking all the rules. And it didn't resemble improv at all. And they had no teachers. They had nobody here to
mm.
bring it. And I was going to start maybe teaching it a bit. But
I guess it is super American, isn't it?
it's North American for sure. I mean,
North
they
American, yeah.
started doing improv here years ago and brought it to the stage early days, but it went John Stone and Viola Spolin were doing it basically years ago as theater games. That's a whole nother topic. They were doing it. Viola Spolin was doing it for children in Chicago,
Hmm.
but and it became sort of theater, and it became a performance in and of itself. But anyway, here in London, and then I ran across kind of an ad for a guy who was coming from the States and was going to teach some workshop courses, some improv stuff in London. And I signed up right away because he had done Second City. He had been like a
Yeah.
OG improv guy, and it was clear that this guy was going to bring real improv to London. And I signed up for the course, and I went, and this is essentially how I met him, under the
Is this the
train
guy?
trestles. This
This
is the
is
guy who's our
the
guest
guy.
to this in this episode.
Oh, wow.
We became pals, and we palled around. Well, for the time that he was in London, we hung out and stuff. And I think you'll find he has a great attitude. He's what I call he's a yes man,
Oh,
and in the best possible way. Because if you know improv and you've ever done improv, saying yes, and you know this, don't you, Jay?
no, but I've learned to say no but yes,
Right. Saying no today worked for you, and you got double. But I think you'll find many more opportunities come up when you say yes.
I'm sure.
And our special guest today, his name is Mark Beltzman, and
Woo.
I'm going to play for you right now. I want to introduce him properly. So
Okay.
this is going to be the Mark Beltzman experience, the show reel.
Look, she came. And she came too. People, we are in the presence of greatness. You bastard. You hid the suit. I will blackball you from this town. No, I'm suing you. I don't know how, but I am gonna get you. You are gonna pay. Well, look at this, a baby. I love a baby. Bald and chubby, just like me.
Here, you want to know it? It's just a small little thank you for your patience with our little angel.
Thank you, that's very kind. Cookies. Did you make these?
Yes, I did.
Did you bake them with coconut?
Because you love coconut?
I don't think you
I
should
just
have
don't
had
think that men understand how different everything is for us. I can think of a million examples from this week alone.
Have a great day.
Oh, thanks. You too.
You have a beautiful mouth. Have a great day.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Larry.
Hey, how you doing? I'm so sorry to hear about your stepfather.
Yeah, thanks. I just got back from Detroit.
Oh, no kidding. I'm so sorry because I wanted to go to the wake that night.
I was pretty pissed about that. I thought we were friends. Ed came?
Ed came?
Yeah, he was there. He brought flowers himself. He delivered them himself. I mean, it's just a courtesy. You could have at least called, Larry.
Want a piece of gum?
Please tell me these canisters are marked correctly. The preview for Kiss Me Deadly, the canisters got switched and the atomic bomb went off in the second act.
I hear this one bombs in the first.
Just eat your goddamn sandwich.
Who's this?
Just a friend helping out. Is that a problem?
Only if she's making melon balls without a hairnet. I come here all the time. Don't embarrass me. You're just gonna come and I'm gonna take a shower and you sit and have a drink.
I need to know someone before they touch my balls.
All right. Hi, I'm Harvey.
Hi.
Ow! What are you? We just met. You got to know me. You ever sat on a plane next to somebody who wouldn't shut the hell up? Well, it was like that.
Wig.
And she wouldn't stop talking to her dog.
Okay, so she started singing, and that's when you finally snapped?
I didn't snap. I got fed up. I'm sorry. If you need anything, don't call me. Anyway, that's my story.
And there he is, the man himself. Hooray!
Aloha.
Aloha! Ha ha!
Yeah.
By the
That
way,
was great.
I'm wearing a special shirt for you in Hawaiian
There
fashion.
you go.
Mark has moved himself to Hawaii, and we're going to talk all about that because I'm super jealous, to be honest.
Yeah, I see the
Life
sea
is
turtle.
Yeah, a buddy of mine took that picture.
Really?
I see that every day. I swim in the ocean every day, and swim with turtles and octopus. And
Would you say that you have a charmed life?
I'm very fortunate, and I guess I kind of figured some things out. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about that.
Great.
Because obviously what we just saw there was a body of work that is, well, I don't know. What do you think, Jay? Extraordinary?
Huge.
Huge.
It was hilarious. Like, I'm actually laughing, not fake laughing. I loved that. The whole thing. That was
Real
really
laughter
good.
was great. Yeah, yeah. He's worked with some greats. He's hysterical. He's just like he is in the show, though. In his performances, you know, he's kind of a jerk, but in the best possible way. Angry young man, and now angry old man. Can you take us through the Beltzman journey? When did you start?
Sure. Let's see. I was born in Detroit, Michigan.
How old were you when you were born?
How old was I when I was born?
Oh, wait. Yeah, no, that's clear.
0. I started at 0.
Okay.
And then I became 1 month old. And then, after that, progressed. I'm now 63. So, yeah, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan.
Right.
In 1960, and grew up there. And then I started, I was a musician. I still am. I play tuba.
Yeah.
To this day, I just played in the Maui Pops Orchestra concert at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center on Sunday, and I play in the Maui Community Band. But anyways, I played tuba as a kid all through high school. I went to a college prep school called Cass Technical High School, where I studied in music. And then when I graduated, I played in 3 symphonies around the Detroit area. Before I started acting, my best friend is this guy named Robert Teachman, who I'm still really good friends with. Just was texting with him a few days ago. And his parents used to have these really fancy, elaborate parties in Detroit with very affluential people, influential people. And one of them was named Charlie Schritty, and he asked, could he borrow my tuba for a Lazy Boy chair ad? And I said, sure. And he said, you want to be in it? And that's how I started, was a model for Lazy Boy Chair magazine ad.
Sitting in the chair with your tuba?
What's that?
Sitting in the chair with your tuba?
Yep. I still have that picture.
Do you? I'd love to see that.
It all started with the tuba.
And then another one, a photographer in that same family event, was named Amin Harani. And Robert, my best friend, worked for Amin. He was his assistant. And one day, I used to hang out there a lot. And I was very interested in acting. And Amin cast me in my first TV commercial, which was a still photography ad for the TV. I played Tony Baker, the high-low driver who drove his forklift into 400 refrigerators. It was a damaged goods sales for a appliance store. And that was the beginning of my career. I was 21 years old. I'm now 63, and I haven't done anything else since.
Wow.
But pursue an acting career.
And acting, yeah.
So I kept at it and studied in Detroit. And then I read an article in the paper that this guy named Del Close was coming to Detroit to do a workshop.
Wow.
And he was the acting coach for the Not Ready for Primetime Players.
Yeah.
And I cleaned out my bank account and took that workshop. And from that, I got cast in the Detroit Times Theater Company, which is where I met my wife, Beverly Lubin. And we've been married for over 40 years. And then the Detroit Times brought in another man named Michael Gelman from Chicago, Second City, to do a workshop. And Michael and I became friends, and Dell and I became friends. And they convinced me to move to Chicago and study in Chicago, where I was a founding member of what was called Improv Olympic.
Yeah.
They changed the name to IO because the Olympic Committee sued them. Then I got hired at Second City. I was in a touring company and traveled around the country for 2.5 years performing best of material, written all the sketches written by John Belushi, Bill Murray, John Candy, all the greats.
All the greats.
And then you get hired and move up at Second City, and you're allowed to write and perform your own material so that the touring company someday will do your material. So I worked at Second City from 85 to 91. Then I got swept off my feet by managers and agents and convinced to move to Los Angeles, where I spent 30 years pursuing movie and television work and teaching improv all over the world, which is how I met Todd when I moved to Europe for a while. That's another story.
Can we go back and talk about Dell real quick? Because he's like a hero to all improv.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
And that's I didn't mention him when I was talking about Viola Spolin, but he comes through with son.
Well, Viola Spolin is the mother of improv, and Keith Johnstone is the Europe equivalent of Del Close. They're both the big gods, the gurus of improvisation. And Del, I lived just a few doors down from him on Well Street, which is right across from Second City in Chicago. And so I used to drive him back and forth to workshops all the time.
He didn't drive, right?
No, he didn't drive. No, Del. Del was quite a character. He was a guru. He was a god. He was a genius, and he was also a really fucked up motherfucker. Oops, I'm not supposed to swear. Sorry.
We'll quack it out. He was a quacked up mother quacker.
He was a junkie. He tried to commit suicide many times, but he was a genius, and he was
tortured.
The best there is at this art form, teaching this art form, long form improvisation. He invented basically with the committee in San Francisco in the late 60s. He invented what we now know as the Herald. Which is the foundation of long form improvisation. And so we studied that with him extensively. And when I was performing with Improv Olympic, everybody in Chicago was flocking to see what we were doing, because it was essentially what you would call experimental theater back in those days. And it was really exciting. It was in the 80s. I was there from 85 to 91. So the late 80s was a huge theater boom in Chicago. So it was a really exciting time to be an actor in Chicago. And we just had a great time studying with Dell and doing some really magical work. And that was the foundation of my training.
And you were there from the beginning.
Yeah, we founded Improv Olympic. I was in Barron's Barracudas, which was the very first group that ever performed with Improv Olympic.
I took some Improv Olympic courses in LA, and I was with the Groundlings for years, and I was attracted immediately to improv. I think Jay probably the same. What attracted me so much was the sense of community, the sense of agreement, ensemble, acceptance. And when I met you particularly, and I know you now, like you implement all those kind of principles into your life to this day. And always have, probably. Because how old were you when you started then with them? Like in your mid-20s, young?
Yeah, I was like 24 when I got hired at Second City.
Right.
And I teach still to this day, and what I'm really passionate about and what I teach is transformation. It's under the umbrella of improv and acting, but transformation is just life lessons and stuff you should be doing anyways, which applies to everybody in the world. Make your partner look good, you look twice as good. Be in the moment. Be honest, truthful, and real. Figure out what's working and do more of it instead of trying to change and fix what's wrong. How do you know the difference? One makes you smile and one doesn't. We're all born with an internal mechanism that tells us what's working in our lives. So if you just figure out what makes you smile and do more of it instead of trying to change and fix things, then your life becomes extremely more enjoyable. It relieves the stress, tension, anxiety. I always say, if you think, you're effed, because that's where all our stress, tension, and anxiety comes from, is thinking. So the principles of everything I teach is to replace thinking with listening, and to be in the moment, to let it happen to you instead of you working so hard to make it happen. And that's basically the foundation of everything I believe in, everything I live, and everything I teach.
Yeah, it's a life philosophy, a life principle, isn't it? More than anything. It just happens to work really, really well on stage as well.
Yeah. And the whole smiling thing is just so important. And I don't care what it is that makes you smile, whether it's and this may be crass for some folks, but it's like, whether it's watching pornography on the internet, or smoking substances or gardening, or running, swimming, whatever makes you smile, do more of it, and the rest of your life will just change. It just will. You won't be worried about changing and fixing things so much.
Yeah, find the happy zone and stay.
That's right.
Yeah, and stick in it, which is what you've clearly sort of done. And I watched you sort of, because when I met you, you were bebopping around the world trying to kind of, I guess, figure out a landing spot. But you found one, and we're going to talk about that, because God bless you. But I remember specifically, like, I just remember there was a few key moments, even in our short time that we spent together. I remember I called you up and I was like, hey, I'm going to be, because I live just outside of London. I was like, I'm going to be up there. You want to hang out? Let's go do some stuff. And you kind of, I could tell you didn't want to necessarily, because you're like, it was like a long day or something. And then you went, I'm going to say yes. You know what? I'm going to say yes. And it was just the kind of way that, Jay, you got to imagine, like, the way he said yes. Like, you know what? I'm going to be a yes man here. I'm going to open myself up to that opportunity. And we had a great day, as I recall. We had a blast.
Yeah, I remember that day.
Yeah, it was cool. And I just thought, there's that attitude. It was so refreshing, having myself lived in Europe for years and met all kinds of, like, grumpy, Eastern Europeans and others. And then finally that American optimism, and the optimism of a comedian, and the optimism of an improv specialist, all balled into one, and then just a great guy. It was super refreshing for me at the time, and it stuck with me.
Nice.
Yeah,
we had some good times for sure. That was a great time. At that time, I was doing a musical on and off for about 3.5 years called Reanimator, the musical with George Wendt.
That's right. He's a good friend of yours.
Reanimator?
What's that?
Yeah, that's a movie, isn't it? Reanimator.
Yeah, it was a movie in 1985. It won the
sci-fi movie
Cannes Film Festival Critics Pick Award.
Like necromancy, like Frankenstein, like bringing back the dead.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, it's about reanimating the dead, a serum that reanimates the dead.
Check the movie.
And, a musical. Great.
It was a musical, and it was really a lot of fun. And we all went to New York to do a little thing on Broadway for the New York Music Festival. And then the whole cast was flown to Edinburgh to do the Fringe Festival.
Right.
Oh, so cool.
So we literally got paid to go to the Fringe Festival, which is very unique, unusual, and unheard of.
And then you refused to leave.
At that time, my wife and I had lived in LA at the same apartment for 27 years, and we were just complacent and wanted to move on. So we sold all of our furniture, our cars, our clothes, put some stuff in a friend's garage. She met me at the end of the run in Edinburgh, and then we just kind of, what she likes to call it, our walkabout. We just spent about 14 months.
Our walkabout.
Just being a vagabond. Spent a month in Scotland, went to Amsterdam for a minute, and then I rented a house in Lewisham.
Lewisham, where's that?
For about 6 months.
South London. Yeah.
And that's how I met Todd, and I was there for a good 5 months, teaching all over England and Bristol and Brighton, and doing classes 2 or 3 times a week in London.
Yeah.
It was really, really exciting fun. Through the nursery, which was they were great at the time. It was really fun, and they were great to me.
Do you
Yeah, there's Jules over there at the nursery. Yeah.
Yep, Jules Munns, right?
Yeah.
do you agree with Todd? Do you think that people in London are bad at improv?
No, I don't agree with that at all. It's a
He's not
different
funny.
animal. I think here's the thing with improv is improv is acting, and there's a lot of people, and in especially in London, improvisers don't necessarily consider themselves actors. And what I mean by that is
Right.
they don't have pictures and resumes. They're not pursuing work in the West End or in movies or television. They just have day jobs, and this is a passion and a pursuit. And there's some very good people who perform, but they don't take it as seriously as actors, and that's what Todd is referring to as I experience here on Maui. It's community theater.
A hobby. Yeah.
Here's what I've discovered since I've lived here
Okay.
is it's a social club. Right. They just want to meet
Right.
once a week and play party games and pat themselves on the back for being really fun and great and getting out of their way for a minute and
Right.
smiling with some friends and connecting. And then they do a show once a month. But you can't become a proficient actor or a brilliant artist.
Yeah. High level performance.
That's right. Improv and acting is just like being a Olympic athlete. You train for years and years and years for 1 second of glory. And it could bring you the gold medal, or you could fail by just, a
Fractions.
fraction.
Yeah.
And then the other pitfall actors have is comparing themselves to other actors, especially when it comes to finances. And that's just the death of any actor. That'll create more stress, tension, and anxiety by comparing yourself who are doing better, doing more, working more, making more. And it doesn't matter. Everybody's in their own lane, on their own journey and executing their own pursuit through the gauntlet or the obstacle course that is life.
The
And
gauntlet.
that's what we do. And when you can find the joy in all of that, it's just where you're at while you're there. The power of now. Be here now, Eckhart Tolle and Ram Dass and all that stuff is really powerful.
Stay in the moment. Yeah.
Figure
Was that a
out.
struggle for you at all, Mark, to sort of did you work at it?
Yeah, man.
Were you an angry young man? You strike me as you maybe were angry.
Here's what it took. It took me decades and decades and decades to learn accountability and integrity.
Right.
I blamed everything and everybody. I blame the agents. I blame the managers. I blame the producers. I blame other actors for sabotaging me. I blame just my wife for not putting me in a good mood before I walked out the house for an audition. I blamed everything and everybody. And then I found Men's Team. In Los Angeles, it was through an organization called Sterling. And I sit in a circle in LA every Wednesday night with a group of men, and we discuss our own vulnerabilities,
masculine
and,
issue.
we process differently than women. So you're able to find if you start talking about your problems at a bar, the guy's going to go, "Okay, great, good to see you, mate," and take walk
Totally.
Good night. Good luck.
But in a circle of men. And so when I moved to Maui, I found another organization called the Mankind Project. And still to this day, every Tuesday night, tonight, we'll go sit in a circle of men and we just process, whatever you want to process. You want to be a better man. You want to be a better husband. You want to make more money. You want to get out of your way. You want to stop being an idiot. You want to stop being angry. You want to figure all that stuff out. And so once I figured out accountability and taking responsibility for myself and my behavior in everything I do in life, it has just relieved all the stress, tension, and anxiety.
So it's almost like twofold therapy.
It really
improv
is.
and then
it's definitely not therapy, but it serves a great purpose.
Yeah.
Just like improv serves that great purpose. Because if you ask somebody, after 40 years of marriage, I still find challenging times to be vulnerable in front of my wife, right?
Yeah, sure.
But you ask people to come into a group of strangers and be vulnerable, it brings up a lot of stuff for people. And that's what improv and acting is. It brings up our vulnerabilities. And the more you can be comfortable being uncomfortable, and experiencing your own vulnerability in front of strangers and taking accountability and responsibility for yourself and your feelings, that's when life really starts to get great.
Wow. All right.
Did you experience that turnaround at some point, like specifically that you can relay back to? Was that during the Dell days or?
There are some pivotal moments. One, my wife wanted to go to see the Himalayas, and I said, "Okay, honey, you plan that trip. I'll help you pay for it. I'll go with you." And we went to Tibet,
trip.
Nepal, and Bhutan.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You've been to Bhutan.
That was life changing. Bhutan changed my life forever, and it was her desire. And it's one of those things.
It's hard to get
I'll
there.
go with you, honey. And I got more out of it than she.
Right. Wow. What happened there specifically? Is there something, or generally?
The biggest tourist attraction in Bhutan is called the Tiger's Nest, which is a temple that was built into the side of a mountain in the 11th century.
Okay.
And,
Jay's nodding that he knows.
We rode horses for about 2 hours. We got off the horses and we had to hike for about another 45 minutes. So you get to a waterfall and you cross underneath the waterfall on this bridge. You're at the door of the temple.
Oh my gosh.
When I got off the horse, I don't know what it was or what happened. I just stood there and I started crying. I was just bawling. I couldn't figure it out.
Have you got a window open there? Yeah, shut that door. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
No,
too noisy out there.
Todd, getting to Bhutan, I think nowadays it's difficult to get a visa. It's like not an easy trip.
Yeah, was that a hard trip to make then? Hard to get there in general?
It's elusive. You have to pay for a visa. In order to get into the country, you have to buy a visa for $250 per person for every day you're in the country.
Wow. Okay, so.
But that includes your guide. It includes your hotel. It includes 3 meals a day. Everything, all the fees to get into the festivals and stuff.
So you started to cry. You came to this temple built in the side of a wall, and you just had an epiphany.
So I stood there and I just started crying, and I don't know what it was. And then about a year later, I saw Michael J. Fox do a documentary on happiness. And in Bhutan, they have a happiness quota.
Yeah, that's
and
currency in Bhutan is happiness. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
So he was standing in the exact same spot I was crying. And he's like, I don't know if this is a vortex or what, but he goes, I didn't take my meds today. My hands aren't shrinking. And he was like in this really spiritual place. And that's where I stood there crying in that exact same spot.
That's incredible.
That is just crazy.
I don't know if it's a vortex or what, but that was life changing. I'm Jewish, not religious at all. I don't practice. I don't go to synagogue or anything like that. But there's a lot of Jews who practice Buddhism. They're called Jubus.
Yeah.
And I really related to that mentality of the Buddhist lifestyle and no suffering and, that whole chanting. And it just resonated with me spiritually and within my body. And that was a very pivotal moment for me where I just realized, two things I learned: enjoy where you're at while you're there, and to get out of your own way and eliminate self. And those are the principles of acting as well.
Yeah, and improv.
Yeah.
That's a lifelong pursuit, and I think that's why I also, like you, I recognize an angry young man when I see one, because I was one myself. And I think for all kinds of reasons, but when I first came to acting in general, and then improv specifically, it was clear that this is a place where you build a community. People are free to fail. There can be free to be vulnerable to each other. There's a bit of a safety net here. There's protection. We're all in it together. We're supporting each other, and you are getting out of your own way. The whole yes and philosophy, and for our listeners, that's really just about taking on board what has been offered, agreeing with it, and then accepting it and adding to it, so that you kind of go with the flow, I guess you would say, right?
Yes, and
that's why I was I just felt like when I got into improv classes for the first time, I thought, oh, okay, I'm home. Like this is where I need to be. And I understood like you do now, of course. And I know that you're teaching improv, but what you're really teaching, like you said, is transformation. You're really teaching people how to be better people, better to each other, better to themselves, be more connected with each other. And that is like massive.
Yeah, it's about identifying the obstacles that stop you from being more or being better or making more or being happier or whatever it is you pursue.
Yeah. So at what point did you bail on Britain? Was it when your visa expired?
Oh, no, it was a visa thing. I I was there legally, but I was working illegally. As a matter of fact, before we moved to Maui, I wanted to move to London, but I didn't have a work visa, and I couldn't find anybody to sponsor me.
I
tried
tried
to do it through a lawyer. It cost me like $5,000 to go for a week, and I was just like, they ripped me off.
Oh,
wow.
But
it's too bad.
Maui is plan B because I had founded Maui Improv in 2014, and I was coming back and forth for years, teaching and performing whenever I want.
Oh, okay.
And made myself artistic director. We moved here October of 2019, right before lockdown.
Oh boy,
which was the most magical thing I've ever experienced in my life. It'll never happen again. It was once in a lifetime
better being
experience
there than somewhere else. Yeah.
to be on Maui without tourists for 8 months, and the virus was very low here. It was very safe, and
just take a walk on the beach, empty beaches.
Yeah. The magical thing that happened then is you couldn't be in a park, you couldn't be on a beach or anything, but there's no maritime law. So if you were in the water, the cops left you alone.
Oh, okay.
So I started swimming 7 days a week just to get out of the house, and I haven't stopped. I still swim 7 days a week.
Oh,
and it's magical.
I saw you lost some weight and you're looking good. You feeling good?
I feel great. Yeah.
It's a good lifestyle.
Life is good.
You're becoming the sea turtle.
I am the sea turtle.
You are
the sea turtle.
Sea turtle. The tuba.
I like they call octopus here are called taco, T-A-K-O.
Right.
It's Japanese for octopus.
Oh.
So, and I kind of identify with that animal. And the whales are here too right now. So,
okay, yeah.
That's pretty cool. You can just stand on the shore or put your head underwater and listen to them or see them jump out of the water by just standing on the shore and watching.
See, this is okay. So now this is what
idyllic.
That's the fascinating thing for me, and this is part of the reason for the show and the Offstage project in general, is to kind of show all the various ways that actors can have a life and enjoy life and still be what they are, true to their craft and true to their calling and being an actor and stuff, but not necessarily have to be just grinding away in the streets of LA or New York or whatever. So you're able now, of course, you're older and things, semi-retired, but actor never really retires, do they? You're getting work there?
Yeah, I was on set last
recently.
week. I was just at a movie with Zach Galifianakis and this little girl. She was I think it's a live action version of Lilo and Stitch. I don't even know if I can say that. I just
probably not.
We'll duck it out. We'll quack
Did you sign an NDA? Did you sign an NDA?
No, they didn't ask me to. But
then you're all right.
But they didn't tell me anything about it. And when I looked it up on IMDb, it said some other actor's name. And then I show up on set and it was Zach Galifianakis. So.
Oh, okay. So it's a bit of secret project.
Yeah. I guess he didn't want to.
How's he? He's fun to work with, I'm sure.
He was great. You know what? I got treated like a king. It was everything you could possibly. I had one line.
Right.
It's something I would never normally do. I was in a hot tub with my shirt off and.
Right.
Being over here, you're starting over again. So I wanted to build relationships with the agent in Oahu and the casting directors. So I said, okay, I don't want to be,
a no man.
Todd,
you want to be a yes man.
Who Todd knows me as is this uppity, egotistical, arrogant actor going, nah, I don't want to do that. So I just said, yeah. And it turned out to be really magical. They treated me like a king. I was waited on hand and foot. They flew me over. They put me up in the most amazing hotel, the Prince Waikiki, with a beautiful view of the marina, and treated me like a king. So it was great. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I said yes. And now I'm building my relationship with
man. Yeah.
new people over here saying yes. Exactly. You
There
got
you
it.
go. That's good. You've worked with quite a few heavy hitter talent, especially in the comedy world.
Very fortunate.
You feel fortunate, don't you, about that? I mean, I would.
Yeah.
I look at some of these places you've been, the people you've worked with and stuff. It's amazing. What's some you got some standout experiences there? I know you used to tell stories about John Candy, who's obviously beloved amongst all of us comedy fans.
Yeah. What do you want to know? I mean, I have
I know
hundreds
you
and
got tons
hundreds
of stories,
of
but
hours of stories. What would you like to know about?
I have a really random specific question that popped into my head.
Yeah.
Do you know the hardest you've ever laughed?
Oh,
Who made
wow.
you laugh the hardest?
Well, here's the thing that most people, actors, don't understand is, like, back in the Second City days, the most important work I ever did was between like midnight and 8 a.m. because I
Oh.
was out all night. I was out all night with the bars, with the people I love and the people I was performing with. And you laughed and you laughed and you laughed and did all kinds of crazy, stupid shit and drugs and alcohol. And it was wild scene in Chicago, Second City, at the U.S. Blues Bar, where John Candy would be behind the bar, Dan Aykroyd would be behind the bar, and what would happen is you would have these experiences and these fun things. You'd go to movies together, you'd play, you'd do stuff, but you'd be on stage and you'd make a reference to something that happened either last night, last week, or a month ago, and everybody on stage was there. So you'd just be recreating these really fun, crazy experiences that you had together on stage in front of an audience and recalling, reliving, or recounting all of those hours and hours and hours of just crazy fun stuff. And that was the most fun for sure. Being on stage at Second City and making a reference to something that happened, and everybody just dives in and recreates that moment. And
Powerful.
boy,
Those are
then
powerful.
yeah. That's the real bonding happens. And
Yes.
now actors, improvisers, they don't hang out with each other anymore. They don't all go to the bar together. They don't all spend the non-working hours bonding together so that you build trust. And the more trust you have with each other, the more trust you have on stage. And now it's a sort of free-for-all where everybody's in their own lane, trying to get that movie deal, trying to get the TV show,
outshine each other, outpace each other.
Yeah, we weren't interested in the movies and the TV shows. We were interested in each other and the experience.
Yeah, those
It's not that
moments
none
on
of any of
stage.
us turned it down or didn't want it, but it wasn't.
It didn't exist really then either.
No,
there was no Saturday Night Live.
And
This
we
is
didn't get
pre-Saturday
paid.
Night Live. Right.
Right. When I got to Second City, I got paid. I never got paid a penny by Improv Olympic, and I spent years there. We did all this stuff 7 days a week, 7 nights a week, and I never got paid for improv until I got hired at Second City.
Right.
And so you do this because of the love of doing it.
And that's when
nowadays
they started.
everybody's looking for a buck,
Yeah. And that family feeling. I imagine back in those days, a real family feeling.
Well, I would call it ensemble, but yes, it's the same thing.
Yeah, the same thing. Community, the ensemble. But that ensemble feeling that if you can capture that, and I've had some moments myself, maybe Jay has as well, with the right people in the right moment on stage where it's just like it clicks and you feel everybody working together. Hard to get out there in the natural world, as it were. But if you can get it on stage with a group of well-trained, enthusiastic performers who understand the game, magic, right? I see a little smile. You're like going back to those times.
Well, we suck at socializing now. I suck at not just like the act of doing it. It's like, how do you hang out? I don't know how to hang out.
Social media, probably internet.
You
and social
go
media
to a bar and you're like, now what? What do we do next? I don't.
Yeah. Look at our phones.
Sometimes I'm like, I'm having fun. What's fun? What are we supposed to do now?
Yeah, life is more isolating with computers and cell phones, and we didn't have any of that, and we still all managed to get together every night every week, and you went to the same. Everybody, we communicated just fine, but in person, on the phone, before answering machines.
Right. Messages left on paper where you had to find and come check. Somebody. Yeah, I saw that little smirk on you, Mark. Is there a moment that popped in your head from way back then that you just thought, oh yeah, like one of those magic moments?
Not specific moments, just more behaviors. I like shocking people, and saying things that are inappropriate and getting away with it by people laughing at it.
Yeah.
And I have,
it does seem out of place coming out of you.
Like on a movie set, the director, you're talking to another actor and a director will come up to you and everybody, gets out of the way. It's like, yes, sir. What do you need? And I just love being that guy saying to the director, excuse me, I'm talking to somebody. You mind? You have to, when you can't do that, it's inappropriate, but everybody laughs because nobody will be rude to the director.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was thinking about and smirking about. I have a good habit and a bad habit of doing that to all kinds of people, especially like really powerful actors and shit where everybody, bows down.
Right. Gets out of the
I'm
way.
just like, get on my way. What
I think people respect you for it. Yeah.
Dude. Right.
So now I know you're good friends with George Wendt, Adam Sandler. You worked with him a ton, right? How did you a couple times? Yeah, I say a ton, but you were in a few things with him. Like, you go from Chicago then to you said they talked you into going to LA. You get to LA and now you're doing what? Just slugging away at it, agents, castings, just the typical.
Yeah. I mean, back in those days, we didn't have computers. We didn't have that. So you had, if I would normally have between probably 3 and 8 auditions a week.
Yeah.
And back in those days, you had to drive to the casting director's office and pick up your sides, your script.
Yes.
And so I would be driving. That's all you did, man. I would drive around to 3 or 4 casting directors, getting my scripts, going home, studying, and then going back to that same place for the audition. And so that's what you did back then. It was like a lot of time in your car, driving around, picking up stuff, rehearsing, memorizing, coaching each other, hanging out with other
getting ready for the
actors, commiserating.
Right.
Who gets the job, who didn't. You see the same people at every audition.
Yeah. Was there any kind of hangout in those days at club or something? Where did those? Because everybody basically went from like Chicago over, or they went to New York. But where did you go?
There was a couple bars. Well, I.O. had a place in LA that actually had a bar in it. That was a big hangout.
Okay.
And then there was a couple other bars. Tom Bergen's was an Irish pub that a lot of actors hung out at. And there was a few other places in LA.
So you found a bit of a community?
Yeah. It was mostly bar scene. You just
of course. Yeah. The 80s. We're talking about the 80s now, right? 80s and
80s, 90s.
When did you kind of get your big break, or what was the first kind of bigger like role?
I'm still waiting for it.
Still waiting for your big break. Yeah.
I mean, I've had some.
You're like the one line guy, huh?
Everybody knows me from Billy Madison, and of course Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm. But I was never that guy who got the series regular. Or even. I was a recurring character on According to Jim for a few years. And I played Beltzman, played by Mark Beltzman.
That's a good name.
Why do you think that? Or maybe that's a bad question.
What's that?
Why do you think you're not successful as what you
well, no, you said like you never made the series regular, but like do you why
I'll tell
why?
You, at this point, at 63 years old and living on Maui and really enjoying every day, I look back at this and I can see that if I would have had that kind of success, I would be just like all of my contemporaries. I would be the Chris Farley, the John Belushi,
yes,
Mike Haggerty. All of my contemporaries are dead.
Yeah,
they're all gone, and I think a lot of that has to do with making a lot more money gives you a lot more privileges, whether it be in substances that you can acquire or the pressure
Mm.
and the stress of getting more successful, more recognition. Like I can walk down the street and nobody knows who I am unless I tell them. There's nobody who hasn't seen me in anything, but if I don't tell them, they don't normally have.
And you make a
anything.
point of
Couple
telling
people.
pretty much everybody, as I recall.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay.
If they ask, I will. If I'm in
No,
a
I'm
good
joking.
mood, or I might say, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is me." But it's just not important anymore. It used to be important to get recognition, and now it's just about health, mental health,
Yeah.
physical health, and
That's good.
financial health.
Yeah.
Those are like the three.
That's a good life
creative-
lesson. Yeah. Because I also came out of this kind of era. I'm younger than you, obviously, but I was 90s
Not
young
obviously.
guy. Not
obvious.
Yeah, not obviously,
If
Todd.
you're looking at YouTube, you should see it.
Okay.
All right. I have more hair anyway. I'm not
Oh,
much
shots
younger
fired.
than you, but I'm like a decade. I'm in a different decade. So you did 80s, I did 90s, basically. And I was like, it was Dawson's Creek era, and a lot of I was getting a lot of comparisons like to Leonardo DiCaprio and all this kind of stuff. And had I done better in those days when I wasn't mentally fit and mentally prepared, and I was doing, we talked about it a little bit. I had some pretty good successes that were giving me a lot of recognition, but I couldn't handle it. Like I know that about myself, and there was nobody around that could help me,
Mhm.
and I had all kinds of issues, personal issues and things that just couldn't reconcile success at the same time and be cool. And so I think I'm much better off now at this later stage in the game, having my sanity and my happiness and the few creature comforts. I'm very comfortable, but without all the shackles of fame and fortune and stuff that, definitely burnt out. River Phoenix was a contemporary of mine, let's say, and, we see it just, they burn out. Those kids a lot of them didn't make it, or they had a very hard time. So there is something to be said, and maybe somebody's listening now who's thinking about getting into the game can be satisfied with, hey, having a great body of work, having a life, doing things you love, being surrounded by people, that you enjoyed being with, looking back with all kinds of happy memories and never really having compromised on anything else.
Well, and all that being said, I still believe my best work is ahead of me.
I think so too. Yeah. What would you like to do? What's Beltzman's dream at this point?
I love making movies. I love watching movies. That's it. I mean, I'll take TV any day of the week. Theater. I've done plays here. Now I'm back to playing more music. I'm playing in the Maui Pops Orchestra and the Maui Community Band, and I play tuba. I always have since I was a little kid. And I have a 112-year-old tuba I had restored that I just love.
Okay. That's slightly older than you, isn't it?
No, it's younger than me.
It's the same.
It's actually handmade. When I had it restored, they showed me inside.
Really?
You could see all the hammer marks.
Really? Were they banged on? You've got hammer.
So yeah, so I'm just back to feeding my creative soul with whatever I can find here, because like we discussed earlier, like what happened after lockdown, Maui Improv went back to in-person classes without telling me. It was a very clear message of a company I founded went back to classes without telling me they were doing it. And that's when I discovered it's a social club. They're not interested in doing the hard work it takes.
You put pressure.
More efficient, more proficient, and get better at what you do by dedicating yourself to something like I said earlier, an Olympic athlete. And that's kind of my mentality, is to work hard at what you do and have pride and contentment about accomplishing something that is out of your reach. And that's what, to me, life is all about, is being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Life happens outside your comfort zone.
Right.
And you want to put yourself in situations where you are uncomfortable. And that's one thing
Yeah.
that doesn't interest most people here on Maui. They don't want to have their
They got a
feathers
pretty comfortable
ruffled.
life there. Yeah.
They don't want to be told what to do. They don't want to be told what they're doing wrong in order to get better. They consider that to be personal criticism. And
Yeah.
you're
Is that a
being
generational thing, or is that like a millennial thing, you think?
No, it's with the advent of the internet and cell phones, there's a sense of entitlement in human beings today that didn't exist when we grew up.
Right.
And everybody can find their like-minded society and social injustices groups on the internet that they can identify with, and they'll go, "Yeah, you're right. You tell
Right.
we don't like those people. We're conservatives or we're liberals," and back
Let's
and forth.
connect.
And you
Yeah,
can
we'll collect into
find
these little pockets.
hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people that agree with you. So that
Right.
in their mind makes them right. And what purpose in life does being right serve? Absolutely none.
Yeah.
You know, you can be right or you can be happy. Who
Right.
gives a shit? It doesn't make any difference.
You
And
can't
so that's
learn
what's
anything
going
if
on.
you're always
There's
right.
a sense of entitlement that exists today. That's why people don't go out to the bars. That's why people don't socialize in the same way we did, because we connected on a human level.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I enjoy more than, you know, the banter of blowing each other's shit or criticizing each other as rudely and as vehemently as possible. And I find that humorous to this day. You know, I just love that
I keep trying to do that to you, but you never laugh.
Yeah, it's not funny.
It's not funny. Yeah.
Right.
All right. I know.
Yeah.
I gotta keep trying.
Yeah, it's all about timing. Something that you need to work on.
Is it?
Wow.
Timing? Timing. Timing?
Yeah. Yeah. What's the most important thing about comedy? Timing.
Timing. Wow. Was there no opportunity in Maui? And by the way, nobody's going to feel sorry for you that you live in Maui. Boo-hoo, I live in Maui and I can't find people that want to be.
That's why I travel.
Great actors. Yeah. But was there no opportunity to do two separate, like, because I've done that in the past too. Living in Prague, when I lived there, it was very comfortable and I was teaching improv, and I found there was a lot of people that just wanted to like hang out and have fun. And I was trying to push, and I realized, okay, no, I can't push here because people just don't want that. But then I created a second, like a separate group of like serious, actors that did want to advance and wanted to climb, or improvers that would wanted to improve. Is there no possibility to do that there? No, nobody wants to be an actor, and nobody living in Maui has a desire to be like a better actor.
I'm sure they do. Everything here. This is how the culture works here. Everybody has a very insular group of people that they hang out with, and they won't get to know you or allow you into their circles, because most people will only live here for, say, 3 to 5 years, and then they leave.
Right.
So whether it's romantic or platonic, people are constantly getting their hearts broken by people leaving, coming and going.
Okay.
So it's very hard to get, and all the theaters are the same way. It's the same circle of actors, the same group of people.
They don't
that
let
do
anybody new
everything
in,
here.
yeah.
And I have
Transients.
a much, I'm coming from the big leagues. It's a bit arrogant of me to say.
No, you
and it's
are,
a bit
for sure.
egotistical, but I have a different level of what I consider to be acceptable.
Yeah.
And they just don't get that. They don't understand it. And they're fine doing their thing. And it's a very Hawaiian cultural thing. Like we as Haoles, Haole is somebody who's
not Hawaiian, not
Polynesian Hawaiian descent. Us Haoles come here and we know how to do everything better.
Yeah.
And that's not the way it's supposed to be. They've done things for thousands and thousands of years here, and it's the way it's supposed to be to keep the culture intact. But we think, oh no, here's an easier way to do this, a better way, a more efficient way, a more productive way. And
business.
It's not
better for
your
business.
business. It's none of your business. Stop it. You want to go find how to do things better, then go somewhere where you can find what you need or what you want.
So you're not
Like my
teaching. Sorry, you're not teaching improv anymore
Yeah, I
in Hall.
teach once a week. I teach on Wednesday night, and none of them. I think I have one actor. The
Okay.
rest of them are just people who want to do improv, and
Right.
it's essentially a retirement community
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I'm working with and dealing with. I like being of service and in service. I charge, not nearly as much as I would anywhere else for my classes here, but nobody can afford them because everybody has to have 2 or 3 jobs just to pay rent
It's
or they're
expensive.
living on a fixed income. So
Right.
most of my students all have either partial or full scholarships. So I just do it because I love doing it and to keep my chops up. So when I do travel, I want to come back over there.
Yeah.
I'm just emailing a couple people about setting up some workshops in Italy, and I would love to come back to London
Okay.
and teach again. I really resonate with London. I love the culture. I love the English people. I love
Yeah.
teaching and performing over there. And so, that's what I love to do is teach and perform. And then I get to come home to Maui. So not too bad.
Well, let's talk we'll talk about it because I obviously have a lot more connections now than I did 10 years ago when we met.
I'm dying to come back over and teach and
Okay.
perform and hang out for a bit. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
definitely.
I got the spare bedroom here. No problem.
Right on.
Come
I'm
hang.
in.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you were up for that. That's great. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to
Invitations
get off island,
extended.
right? Everybody comes
Yeah.
to Maui to get rid of their problems, and we have to leave every once in a while
get
just
some
to
more.
recharge our batteries.
To get some problems.
Yeah.
You got to go out and accumulate some problems so that you can come back.
You need to connect with other people and
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit utopian and dystopian there, even like just sort of. It's not. It's not real
hyper
life.
insulated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and both my wife and I love to travel, and we love other cultures. I love immersing myself in local culture, and that's what the great thing about being a master of improvisation is. I can go anywhere and teach a workshop and meet local people who will tell me all the ins and outs in the back alleys of places to eat, go, do, drink, and have fun.
Yeah,
that's great.
Magical formula.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would like to do too. Is start organizing acting workshops and things around, and then show up and travel and meet people and teach and learn all at the same time.
Enjoy the ride.
Enjoy it. Yeah. Well, man, it's been great talking to you.
Thank you. Been nice talking to you, gentlemen.
I appreciate that it's like 7 a.m.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom. I've written so many notes. You've inspired me in many ways.
What's
Really,
the most inspirational thing he said?
Well, the only
I let Beltzman talk.
Was Mark about to tell us the most inspirational thing that he said today?
No. Go ahead.
No, the story in Bhutan. If I'm not this is me not looking at the notes, but this is me telling you what actually, when you asked that, I'm thinking about Bhutan and I'm thinking about like when I asked about when I asked you about like why didn't you get that series regular, and you talked about John Belushi and all these other people that they got successful and then died, right? And how in your life like you went to this spot and you found happiness, and that's what your life has been about. Not necessarily, but that's been really big for you. And so for some reason Bhutan and that moment, just I don't know why that just I that's what I think about.
The other thing I would say is happiness exists in all of you. You just got to get out of your own way. You don't have to find happiness. Happiness is already there.
Yeah.
You just need to eliminate self and get out of your way and quit creating all the stress, tension, and anxiety by thinking about stuff that you either didn't get done or got to do, and enjoying
Stop
where
thinking,
you're at
start
while you're
listening.
there. Yeah. And with all of this stuff, what I discovered over the years was the only thing you can do with it, whatever it is share it. That's it. That's all there is to give it away. And I used to do workshops for free, but what happens when you do workshops for free is people show up late and they leave early and they don't pay attention, they don't take notes, and they don't care. But if you charge $400, they're like, they show up on time. They're very attentive. They get more out of
Mm.
it because they have some skin in the game. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always at least attempt to encourage people to pay something. So, and the more I can encourage them to pay, the more they're going to get out of it. It's just human nature. It has nothing to do
Mm.
with me or any other formula. It's just the way the human mind works.
Works.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
next for the Beltzman? You got any plans?
Oh, go for swim.
Mr. Taco.
It's like a date.
Mr.
That's
Octopus.
yeah.
I got to practice my tuba, get better at that.
Lazy day.
Always want to get better. And, hopefully this last job that I was talking about will lead to more. I was
Yeah.
very pleased with the agent and building relationships with the casting directors. And I'd like to,
But there is a bit
do
of a
more
scene
that.
there. Did you also do Magnum PI, the new one and stuff?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
If it comes through and is shot in Hawaii, then you're kind of you got a shot at it, right? They pick up the phone, they call Mark.
I had one scene in one episode. They
No, but I
wanna do
mean,
that.
they're shooting stuff there. There's
Yeah.
a scene. There's productions.
Yeah, well, that's
Movies and
what I'm
TV.
creating, that I can work more here as an actor and then just travel and teach and perform. Or
Yeah.
I've always really, what I wanted to do is get hired to do big parts in movies that shoot in Europe. I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
that to me has
That's the
always been the
dream.
dream.
Yeah, I know.
Mm.
That's our dream. I trust it. We're
Yeah.
in Europe and
Yeah, and there's nothing more exciting than being in New York and going to see Broadway shows, and
Love
or
New
being
York.
on the West End and going to see West End shows. It's just another passion of mine. I don't think I've ever seen a show without shedding a tear. I don't care what it is. It's just very spiritual experience to
It
me to
is,
sit in
yeah.
a Broadway theater, and I've been fortunate enough to do it once or twice, but nothing significant. And that's another bucket list to get
Right.
a job on the West End or on Broadway. I'm
Mm.
all in.
Yeah. I was just down there last night and for something else, but I right in the heart of it and just hung out right outside of a theater watching people queue up to go inside to the theater, and I just
Yeah.
kind of watched that. It was just that to me was already
You
like,
and I were down there. Didn't we go in and shoot pool somewhere in a
Yeah.
bar near the West End or something?
Yeah,
We hung out,
yeah.
and then we hung out that day.
We met some of my some actor friends and a few like
You
this.
do some snooker? You know snooker? You know how to play snooker? That's like
snooker
British.
night. Yeah.
I can
Snooker?
barely play
Billiard.
8-ball or 9-ball, but
No,
No,
yeah,
we
yeah.
would
Snooker's
play
its own.
proper billiards. Yeah.
you got to have a lot more money and better clothes to play snooker.
Oh yeah, you have to have clothes. Or be a part of a fancy club.
A
Right,
cravat.
right.
You have to be wearing a cravat.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, we had some good times in London. Come on back.
Yeah,
all-
let's talk about that. I definitely want to, for sure.
Yeah, because I
100%.
definitely know, I got contacts and things now. So
Yeah,
finding
and we don't have
space
that
and
many
everything.
chapters left. Huh?
No. What, Jay?
No.
Speak up.
I said I'll probably be there.
Oh, Jay, will
I'm
come.
waiting.
So you got
I'm
one
waiting for you to
student.
do an improv class, and I'll be sneaking in. I'll be like,
First-
"Hey, Mark,
first
it's
student.
me."
Yeah, that's given. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, cool. Beautiful. Mark Beltzman, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
gentlemen. Appreciate
We'll play
it.
you out little theme music. That was Mark
All right.
Beltzman. Take care.
Thanks,
Aloha.
brother. Aloha.
Thanks, brother. Oh, so grateful that he joined us today. He woke up early.
At the ripe time of what, 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Wow.
No.
Well,
It is
if
in
I-
Hawaii. It's very early.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, because it's like farther away.
11 hours difference. It's morning for him. He's going swimming.
Oh my gosh, he wasn't joking when he said just woke up. 11 hours. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know, 11. I think it is.
But a lot more than. You think it's more than 8?
It might even be 12. 8 to LA and then like another 5, I think, or 4. 3. No, another 3. So 11 hours.
So 11. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't he a great guy?
Yeah. That
So
was.
much going on there.
I mean, every time we interview someone, I always come in being like, "Oh, yay, we're gonna interview someone," and I always leave being like, "Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that was so amazing!"
Especially someone
Just-
that's been in the game so long like him.
I mean, what a just wealth of. I mean, a wealth of information and quotes and interesting stories, and I'll start with the
Experiences.
tuba and just.
Yeah. We didn't talk enough about the tuba. The tuba
But
goes
I
with him
loved it. I
everywhere.
remember seeing it in a showroom, being like, "Oh, there's a photo of a guy with a tuba. I wonder why." But that's how it
I think the
started.
tuba's gotten him a lot of work. That's how he got his first
I
job.
his
He was
first
in
job.
what's the Home Alone. He played in the polka band. He was in the van with John Candy and the tuba. I think that tuba's, there's maybe a
That
note for any actors. He might
just play a
sometimes wish that
tuba.
he learned the harmonica.
You know
You
what?
seen a guy dragging around a tuba? It's like,
Maybe that's the key. Maybe that's the key to getting a series regular, that he doesn't realize he needs to be going to these audition rooms with a tuba and be like,
you
"You
know,
guys,
I'll
tell
tell you
his
what.
agent
You and I are gonna sit down. We're gonna write a script
with a
about an
yeah."
aging tuba player.
No,
Oh,
that's great. It's gonna be a television script. Yeah, and it's gonna be at least a series regular, and
tuba
there's gonna be
man.
a very significant character
Yeah.
played by Mark Beltzman, um, about
It
an
could be
age.
just the mark. It would just use him, and then, like, his dream is to go to the West End, and
Yeah,
he
just
comes
him.
to audition, and he sees
Just
the perfect part, and it's like, we need a tuba playing American for the and, in his 60s, and he's
in its
gotta have comedy
60s.
chops and all this, and he's just like he starts going nuts. Or maybe it's about 2 guys that write a TV show like that just to, like, fulfill his bucket list dream, and then he kinda gets here, and then we realize he actually comes, and we go, "Fuck, there isn't actually the show," but then we make the show, and the show's a success. This thing writes itself. I think
Wow,
we got an idea here.
you know how to get meta. That's a skill of yours.
Yeah, that's
You've
very
done this a
meta.
few times now.
Yeah,
It's you Inception. You know how
we'll
to
kick it around.
Inception.
I inceptioned it.
You incept.
Yeah, I accept the incept. Thank you.
But
Um,
yes, he was exceptional. I'm excited to do show notes for this one. I know I'll forget about it because I'll have the rest of my life, and then I will have show notes and I'll listen to it again, and I will just be like reminded of it all, and I'll relive it all, and I'll listen, and I'll be like,
yeah,
oh my gosh.
he's like one of those kinda Confucius or something. When the more you hear the things he said, the more like every time you hear something different. He's like
Yeah,
Buddha.
he is the guru.
He's
He talked about
he's the Jew
gurus.
Buddha.
He's the Jubu guru.
He's the Jew guru. Jew Buddha.
There
All
it
right,
is.
buddy. Man, I appreciate you. Thanks again to Mark. I'll play this theme one more time because we love it so much. Bah, dun, dun, dun. That was the Offstage Acting Podcast for your enjoyment. You were here, and so was Mark Beltzman too. All about acting. This is terrible.
It's okay. I'm trying to back you up, trying to back you.
And I always appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks to the audiences for listening. The Offstage Acting Podcast. We'll see you next time. Always appreciate my good buddy Mark for his ability to stay in the moment and allow for the great and good to find its way. And super excited that Mark will be here in London soon. And again, you've got the opportunity to work with him here at the end of April. But also catch up to him on his website. He's got workshops going all of the time, all over the world. After London, I think he's off to Rome to teach at the World Improv Festival. Anyway, you can follow all of Mark's movements at markbeltzman.com. Keep in touch. And until next time, folks, keep saying yes to all those great opportunities.